Hello everyone, this is Michael Wolf for WatchReport.com. Today we're going to take a look at a micro-brand watch company. This is Mercer Watches, and this is one of their new releases. This is the Brigadier Chronograph. What makes the Brigadier Chronograph different from their original Brigadier model is just that this is a chronograph, whereas the original Brigadier release was a three-hand automatic movement with the Miyota 9015, and they have opted for using the Seiko VK63 mechaquartz movement in this particular chronograph. It retails for $329 USD, and I think as we get into the watch you'll find that that price point is very reasonable for what you're getting with this watch compared to other watches in its category on the market. Wanted to start off by showing what it looks like on a 7 3/4 inch wrist, as I always do. It is a 42 millimeter case, so I would say that the watch is somewhat, I would say, modest on the wrist. It's not oversized by any means, and it has a very nice low profile. I haven't measured the case thickness, but I am guessing that it's somewhere between the 12 to 14 millimeter range and so forth, so it'll fit nicely under a dress shirt cuff when you're wanting to dress this watch up, which it will dress up quite nicely. Nice brown Croco embossed leather strap, and this is probably the one of two areas that I would like to see some changes on this particular watch, being that I'm in the next to the last sizing hole, so 8 1/4 inch wrist. Outside of that, if you're 8 1/2 or more, you're probably going to need a new strap out of the box. And I don't like to wear my watches tight as it is anyway. I would never put it down in that hole there at all. It would be way too loose. But you can see, not a lot of tail through those keepers. Longer strap would have been nice, but again, that does not take away from the quality of the strap. It's a fantastic Croco embossed leather strap, nice stitch work, so forth. Just needs a little extra length. So let's get this off the wrist and talk about the watch a little bit more. This watch reminds me greatly of a Tag Aqua Racer dress dive watch that I had once upon a time in a chronograph movement, and just absolutely elegant looking, beautiful dial. Same sort of, just the way the dial looks, that's what really I think makes me think back to that Aqua Racer. The biggest difference would be that obviously my Aqua Racer that I had a dive bezel, whereas this doesn't have a dive bezel, but still the same kind of feel when I look at this watch as I had when I owned that Aqua Racer. Very elegant looking. Now the Brigadier Chrono has the same DNA as the original Brigadier that was previously released, and what I mean by that is the case design. This is not a typical cookie cutter off-the-shelf case design. This case was actually it's a custom design case. As you can see, the case sides have a nice, really thin, low profile, but then there's an extra portion of the case below the case sides and so forth. I don't even know how to explain it. It's almost like a multi-layered case, I guess, is what you can call it. And one of the other things that I really think adds a lot of aesthetic appeal, a lot of symmetry to the way the case lays on the wrist and so forth, as the lugs curve around the wrist, they also, I think, in a sense, almost flatten out toward the ends, and it just allows for, like I was saying, a nice flow and just an overall appearance on the wrist. Very comfortable watch on the wrist. Nice flat case back, allows it to set real nice. So one of the other things I like about the components that they've decided to use on this case, as compared to what a lot of companies use with chronograph movements, you'll see on many chronographs round function pushers, whereas they've opted for rectangular function pushers in this particular instance, which I just think gives it a dressier type look. Really nice onion style crown, and the crown face has a nicely engraved star, which just suits the Brigadier name quite well. And something that you'll see with a lot of chronograph watches, not all, but a lot, is that you would expect a push-pull crown, whereas this actually is a screw-down crown, which will help aid that 100 meters of water resistance that this particular watch has. Now, I would love to see drilled lug holes. I don't know if it's possible with the thickness of these lugs, if that would even be possible. That would be an extra level of just added detail that would make it super for strap changes and so forth. But that, I'm not worried about that, but that's just something I'd love to see. And the other thing, the other part of the DNA of the original Brigadier, the brushed and high polished finishes. So just be aware, and I don't know if I can show it in the video or not. It may or may not show up some, but with that bezel being such, so high polished, it is susceptible to scratching. So just be prepared to have a nice cloth around to wipe it off from time to time, maybe a scratch removing type cloth or so forth, just to be safe, because it will scratch up. It doesn't have the same properties that some companies use to make their cases scratch resistant. Now, the other thing on this particular watch that that I would prefer to be different is the crystal. It is a sapphire crystal, but as you can see, just by the way it distorts, it is a dome sapphire crystal. I'd just love to see just your standard flat sapphire crystal to where you don't get that distortion. But again, not a deal breaker or so forth. It's just a preference of mine. Beautiful dial, absolutely gorgeous dial. Again, this goes back to making me think of that Tag Aqua Racer that I owned once upon a time. It's almost has a multi-layered type appearance with that textured center portion, and the way that the sub-dial eyes set above that center section just gives it a great look. All of the markers and so forth are applied. So the level of detail that you're seeing in this dial, in my opinion, it's not typical of a $329 watch. This is what you would see on watches priced higher. Now, the chronograph movement, if you're worried about tracking time very precisely and so forth, not the chronograph movement that's going to do that, because this is only going to track 60 minutes, whereas the subdial at the 3 is actually a 24-hour indicator, so you're only going to be able to track 60 minutes. Now, what do I like about this particular chronograph movement? I will tell you right off the top, I am an automatic fan. I'm not an automatic snob, but I am an automatic fan over quartz movements. But if I was going to own, or if I am going to own a quartz movement, this is probably the quartz movement that would be right at home in my collection. This is, again, it's the Seiko VK63 Mecha Quartz movement. And so what is that? What does that mean to me, to you, to anyone that's watching this video? Well, I'm a fan of the Valjoux 7750 automatic movement. And one of the things I like about the Valjoux 7750 is, and I'm going to start this chronograph up. As you can see, the chronograph second hand with this particular quartz movement, it does have a real nice sweep to it. It's not as an overt ticking as you would see with a lot of quartz movements, but this is the feature that I'm talking about. And when I do this, you're going to say, oh yeah, Valjoux 7750. So I'm going to reset, and it's what you call the instant zero reset. It snaps back to 12. rather than having your power drain on your battery with cycling that second hand all the way back through, it functions very similar to what, say, the Value 7750 does with the instant zero reset. And that is because there is a mechanical component, a mechanical arm, I believe is how I've heard some people explain it, that will allow for that instant zero reset that's set up with that particular complication. So that's all I'll say about the movement. Love the movement, outstanding quartz movement. Probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite right now currently on the market. I love the, I don't know if the lighting is going to do it justice, but this is a blued secondhand, chronograph secondhand, so it adds just a little bit of flair and color to the overall watch rather than it just being a standard chromed chronograph secondhand. Let me wipe the case back off. I want you to see the case back. Again, case backs, the only people that are going to know about the case back is the person that's wearing it, but I always think that when you get a case back that is highly stamped, engraved, whatever you want to call it, as this is, it adds to the wearer's perception of the watch that they're wearing, if not anything else. So just a really nice case back, fits. It's a Brigadier, fits in with the model name and so forth very well. Again, great strap, great Croco embossed leather strap. I talked about the length, we won't go into that any further. And then it's just a standard thumbnail type buckle, something that you see with a lot of watch companies, even like the brands such as Fortis and Glycine. They have this type of buckle on the strap. I'd like to see a nice heavier duty buckle, but it's typical of this type of strap. So there you have it. This is the Mercer Brigadier Quartz, or I should say mechaquartz chronograph, and it retails for $329 USD. I would like to thank each one of you for watching. Would like to thank Mercer Watches for working with Watch Report on this particular review. And definitely go on over, check out the full video or the full written review on watchreport.com, and stay tuned for my next video presentation. Thank you.